Hello friends, welcome back to the Will's Health YouTube channel. Today we're going to talk about why you still feel like ass even though you've done the H.PYLORI treatment. This is probably the most common question that I get in my DMs. Like, I've done the treatment, the antibiotics, why do I still feel awful? Okay. And people say, but I've killed the H.PYLORI, why do I still feel bad? Because you've neglected the most important part of the healing process, which we're going to go over today. I'm going to educate you what H.PYLORI has done in terms of the lasting damage and also the antibiotics as well. Now, if you don't know who I am, my name is Will, as you probably would have guessed from the channel name. I had a lot of gut issues, right? I was diagnosed with IBS, but I had a lot of things going on. These were all my symptoms, and pretty much all of them I've been able to remove or at least significantly reduce, okay? I've also helped many other people do the exact same. I'm not going to go into that today, but if you want to learn more, you can follow the Instagram. You can look at the client wins and stuff like that if you're interested. If not, we can just get straight into the video, okay? So the issue is, right, when someone gets H.PYLORI, which is a bacteria which you get from contaminated food and water, it can cause a lot of issues. And the process of it is just you get H.PYLORI, you kill it, and you feel awful, okay? That's not enough. So currently, the most common way of H.PYLORI being treated, which you might have done if you're watching this video, is triple therapy, which is 2 antibiotics and a PPI like lansoprazole to help reduce your stomach acid. But the problem is with this is you have lasting damage that the H.PYLORI, the bacteria, has done, and now you've also got the collateral damage of the antibiotics, right? Because it's going to cause collateral damage on your gut microbiome. You might have heard of this before, but that's not going to be good, okay? So sure, the H.PYLORI actually might be gone, but you've just nuked your entire gut. So now you've got a whole bunch of other issues that you need to address. And this process, in my opinion, again, this is only for educational purposes only. So please talk to a medical professional before you start or change any medication supplements. But this is so incomplete. And this is why I see so many people struggling with H.PYLORI today. So we need a full structure, full process to make sure that we do eradicate H.PYLORI, but also we heal and replenish our body properly. Now, the literature is very important here. You can see here with a study of the impact of H.PYLORI on the gut microbiome in patients with chronic gastritis. Now, I'm going to save you some time. Don't want to get into the nitty-gritty. Basically, the literature states these 3 main things. H.PYLORI is the leading cause of gastritis, if you didn't know that already. So again, that's why you might get that burning sensation in your stomach, because that's gastritis. Now, this is where it gets interesting. H.PYLORI negative people can still have chronic gastritis, meaning other factors like dysbiosis, inflammation, or autoimmunity also play a role, okay? Now, this is the most important one. Eradicating H.PYLORI alone doesn't fully cure gastritis, right? Which means there's lasting damage from the H.PYLORI. You still need to heal the gut lining, rebalance the gut microbiome, and reduce inflammation. This is what people don't do. They just nuke their gut of antibiotics and then don't heal after. So the proposed solution is we need to, when we get H.PYLORI, unfortunately, we need to prepare for it, then we can kill it, and then we heal and replenish, okay? We need to heal and replenish the gut environment from going through such a traumatic thing like H.PYLORI is, because H.PYLORI is awful, right? It's not fun. For people who have had it, it's not enjoyable. So let's talk about the problem here. So let's talk about what actually goes wrong, okay? The first problem is your gut lining, right? When you have H.PYLORI, and as we would have remembered before, H.PYLORI is the leading cause of gastritis, right? So you have what we call this mucosal layer. This is your stomach. You have this mucosal layer in your gut, and that's there to protect your stomach from the acid, because the acid is very strong. It can burn a hole through this table, so you need something to protect it. Otherwise, it's going to start to burn and cause irritation, which is kind of what the gastritis ulcer feels like, okay? Because the actual bacteria itself can penetrate this mucosal layer. It also reduces the mucin viscosity to move more easily in that gut lining. So the bacteria itself has penetrated this gut lining. And it also releases enzymes which neutralizes your stomach acid. We're going to talk about stomach acid in a sec, but that can also make this lining less elastic, therefore less protective, and then cause you a lot of irritation. And then the result is the chronic irritation and gastritis. Now, to give you an example, if you have 2 fighters in a ring and they're having a boxing match, one's called H.PYLORI, one's called gut lining, okay? H.PYLORI wins, right? The gut lining is now bruised. It's now feeling very irritated. It's now very, very sore, right? If you remove the H.PYLORI, which is what we're doing the antibiotics, the gut lining is still going to be bruised. It's not going to be fixed the next day. We have to heal the gut lining. It's probably a bad example, but hopefully you understand what I mean. Just because we remove the threat doesn't mean the damage isn't still done and we need to heal after. This is what people get wrong, okay? The next thing is your stomach acid. As I mentioned before, H. pylori neutralizes the stomach acid because it wants to survive just like me and you. So the stomach acid is very harsh terrain. So what it does, it releases enzymes to neutralize the pH, right? For a nice, strong, healthy stomach acid, you want it to be a pH of 1 to 2 for optimal digestion, okay? But if it neutralizes this stomach acid, we get, poor digestion. Low acid also means bacterial overgrowth risk as well. So you're more prone to getting H. pylori again or other issues like SIBO and Candida. So not only is the H. pylori neutralize your stomach acid, the PPI that you were taking before, maybe for gastritis or the triple therapy, has also taken a hit on your stomach acid. And your stomach acid is incredibly important. It's got 4 major roles, okay? To break down proteins into amino acids, to kill microbes, which we mentioned before, and overgrowth risk, absorb minerals, release enzymes. So if you reduce your stomach acid with the PPIs and also the H. pylori, you're going to run into a lot of issues. And then you wonder why you're getting this bloating and this gas, because your food isn't breaking down very well. This is another problem that when we remove H. pylori, the stomach acid is still going to be compromised in some way. So we need to make sure we replenish this. When your stomach acid is reduced, it has a knock-on effect on our enzyme release, our pancreatic enzyme release, and also the release of bile as well, which is very important for the digestion of fats and also for detoxing as well. Second most important detox pathway. Thirdly, as we mentioned, is going to be your gut microbiome, because of course the antibiotics are very strong and they're going to disrupt gastric and intestinal microbiome. They don't discriminate. They're not just going to suddenly just pick out the H. pylori alone. It's going to cause a lot of collateral damage on your full intestinal flora. So that can leave you with a reduced diversity and beneficial bacteria, which again is going to lead to more gas, bloating, and intolerances. So I hear a lot of people say, I've never been the same since H. pylori, or, oh, my light's just gone off. There we go. They've never been the same, or they've picked up these really weird food sensitivities they can't eat anymore. This is because, again, the collateral damage that you haven't healed from just by taking the triple therapy. Now, I'm not saying not to take triple therapy. Of course, if that's what your doctor's prescribed, please listen to that. I'm just trying to educate you on what might happen, okay? So healing requires to repopulate this to some degree, and not just more killing with more antimicrobials and antibiotics as well. So it's really important part of the process that we do in the healing replenishment stage. And also as a bonus problem as well, we've also got a neuro-digestive signal. This is essentially your gut-brain communication, which the H. pylori itself can oftentimes throw off. As it says here, disruption of the gut-brain communication. We're not going to go into too much detail of this, but there's a few things that you can do. Even improving stomach acid itself can help restore the signals. As I mentioned before, it can disrupt enzymes and bile release. And also thiamine. Thiamine, I'm a really big fan of. If you haven't watched my video on thiamine, B1, really big fan of it. So important for the nerve signaling capacity. You need B1 for acetylcholine, which is the main neurotransmitter that the vagus nerve utilizes. You've probably heard of the vagus nerve before. If you do have poor or low vagal tone, that can definitely cause some gut issues. And there's more studies coming out now. I just made an Instagram video about how IBS is linked to a thiamine deficiency. So, to summarize, when people tell me I still feel bad after H. pylori treatment, aka the triple therapy, I think, well, of course you do, because there are potentially 3, maybe 4 macro pillars of gut health that have been severely compromised that need to be addressed, right? You need to address these areas. If you're still symptomatic after H. pylori treatment, that doesn't mean you failed. There's no need to panic. It just means your process was incomplete. Again, I see this every single day. Now, a little special mention. I have misspelled special, so don't worry about that. Now, some bacteria, including H. pylori, can hide inside what we call biofilms, which are these protective layers. Think of them as shields which hide the bacteria to protect it. And they can shield from antibiotics and antimicrobials, which reduces the treatment's effectiveness. So if you're someone who continues to have H. pylori come back, and tests the same positive symptoms return after treatment, you've got this continuous low-grade infection, or perhaps it just, again, keeps coming back in cycles, then killing the bacteria doesn't equal breaking the protective environment they live in. So oftentimes what we need is a biofilm disruptor before we do the kill phase, whether you choose to do antibiotics or antimicrobials. And these biofilms are made up of many different things, including polysaccharides and proteins and mucus. So we need to break the biofilm, which we can do in a subtle way. We use NAC sometimes, which helps thin the mucus, or we can use a more complete formula like Kirkman's biofilm defense. This is something that I usually take clients through. Now, not everyone is going to have biofilms. How do you test it? It's quite hard, but oftentimes we just do the biofilm disruption either way, just to make sure that we're being as effective and as thorough as possible in the process. And this is the framework that I usually take people through anyway when we're dealing with H. pylori. So this goes for most gut issues anyway. People can follow this framework with SIBO and other different gut issues and IBS. And these work on the main macro pillars of gut health. which includes diet and nutrition and mast cell stabilization and fixing your motility. So we want to make sure your detox pathways are in a good position. Your bowel movements and your bile flow, as we mentioned before, is in a good position before we go and kill things, because your body's not going to be able to effectively detox from it. Also support upstream digestion, as I mentioned before. Your stomach acid, your enzymes, your bile flow all need to be supported, especially with H. pylori, because that's been compromised. Now, we might not be able to boost stomach acid because you've still got some elements of gastritis and ulcers. So we have to leave that. Don't do any acidic or betaine HCl, as you might have heard of. We use enzymes, maybe bitters if you can tolerate it, just to support upstream digestion, so we actually are breaking down our food well. In the meantime, while we're healing that mucosal layer of our gut. And then when we do feel better, you want to do things in a stage approach where you have like mildly acidic foods and then, moderately acidic foods. Then you can have more severely acidic foods and see how you get on, but never push past any pain as well. And then we would do a kill phase, which is obviously where we do the biofilms, and we use we use antimicrobials typically for most people, which is quite effective. And then the heal and replenishment, which is where, fully restoring the gut lining. We usually bring that a little bit before, but fully restoring the gut microbiome with spore-based probiotics, things like this, and a complete probiotics, some of my favorite. Maybe using B1, as we mentioned before, while supporting the nervous system and emotional health as well, and also our lifestyle. And guys, if you need any help with this, just feel free to go into the top link in the description, and there's a book a call with myself, and we can discuss your exact situation. If I feel as though I can help you, then we can offer you exactly what we have here, which is one-on-one coaching. If not, hopefully you got some value from this video either way.